says 10 minutes. I usually recommend anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour if you can, just because, again, it's gonna emulsify all of that grease and grime, making it so much easier to wipe away. Now, a question I get all the time is, what do I do around the heating element here? Now, what I like to do is just simply lift it up very gently. You don't want to damage it. And then we're gonna spray underneath. Make sure to get the bottom of the oven here as best as possible, because usually this is where all the grease and grime likes to sit. Now, if you do happen to get any oven cleaner on the actual heating element itself, that's okay. I just recommend using a damp towel. Clean that really good to remove it and rinse it off the surface. So as we wait for the cleaner to do its thing, if you come in close here to this oven, you'll notice there is a self-clean function. Now, anytime I do an oven cleaning video or talk about cleaning ovens, I always get a comment, Brandon, just use the self-clean. Now, I don't recommend it because really any appliance repair person I've ever talked to says not to use it because it can damage the oven itself and it's a really big fire hazard to use. It actually will heat up to almost 800 degrees to burn off all the grease and grime. And in doing so, that can melt things like fuses, internal components. I've even seen the control panel get wonky and melt on some of the plastic ones. So really, it's better just to clean it yourself than take the risk and use that option. So now that the cleaner has broken down all the grease and grime and had time to work, I just grab some damp microfiber towels and wipe and rinse everything down. Now, one note, if you do like to use towels like me, it's always a good idea to do a section, then give the towel a real good rinse. Continually rinsing them will help them stay in better shape. Now, when you're cleaning your oven, it can kind of be a little bit of a back-breaking job just because it's so hard to reach inside over the door. Now, some ovens actually have latches like this one here that pull up and you're actually able to remove the door key to get it off, and the door is kind of heavy as well. And then putting it back on can be a little tricky too. Just be careful, use caution if you're going to do this. I don't want you to see you break anything or have any damage caused. I've seen some videos online of people taking them off and the doors shattering and things. The other thing I will say as well is just check your manufacturer's instructions because everyone's a little bit different. So you just want to make sure you do it the right way. Once everything is nice and rose, you'll notice this char is just stuck on the bottom and it has not budged at all. Now, I know from experience, we just use a little bit more of this oven cleaner here. That way it's not going to scratch. Go really slow and just gentle with it. You don't have to gouge into it. Really, once your blade gets underneath the grime there, it's gonna lift it right up super easy. And then the other thing is just make sure to always use a new blade and one that does not have any rust on it, because that could cause a scratch. There are some of your oven. Now, just a word of caution, and again, I just don't want you guys to ruin any of your items while you're cleaning, and that's to never use the ceiling of your oven here. It can be a little tricky just because usually this heating coil does not move at all. So usually I just recommend to scrub and wipe down and rinse as best you can. So now that the inside is great, because it really helps break down the grease and grime. And you might be wondering, Brandon, why did you use a dishwasher pod maybe instead of some just a degreaser like Dawn dish soap? Well, the reason being is the dishwasher pods have enzymes in them to break down grease and grime on your plates and things. And you need those enzymes to break down all the grime that are on your grates. So this does a great job. You'll notice, I'll just grab the Scour Daddy here. This is pretty bad, but just with one quick swipe back and forth, and pretty much all of the grease and grime is gone. Now, sometimes you might run across a few of these grates that are just really bad, and it depends the last time too you clean your oven. If it's really greasy, you might have to jump up to some steel wool here. This is grade 00000, 4 zeros, but it's the ultra fine, and this is gonna grease and grime. Now, you don't necessarily have to do the rinse. Anytime I'm using oven cleaner, I just don't want to leave that behind. So by giving it one last rinse, and I'll just come through and wipe with a clean, dry microfiber towel, I make sure there's no residue left behind. And clean, it's time to put them back in the oven, and if you took your door off, put that back on too. And there you have it, this oven cleaned up great. Now, guide of today's clean, consider subscribing to our Patreon account and join the Clean Squad. We have a